Over the course of my career, I've started and built several different organizations. First, a grammar school. Later, I wrote, developed, and taught an etiquette curriculum. And then I founded a nationwide political organization that tracked campaign finance. Over the course of doing these different organizations, I've learned 3 lessons that applied in every case. I'm going to share those with you today because they can help you build your dream too. Hi, I'm Tracy Marshall. I'm a wife, mom, grandmother. I'm a former executive and founder of multiple organizations. Now my job is to help you by discussing the things no one teaches you in school. We'll talk about successful relationships, family, culture, and even the news. Today, we're talking about the 3 most important lessons I learned as a serial founder of different organizations and how those can help you succeed too. But before we dive in, be sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this. The number 1 lesson I learned from the different projects I've built is this: don't go it alone. You've got to have someone in it with you. Even if your dream seems like a one-person project, say you've got a burning desire to write a book, you still need to find someone who's in it with you. Maybe that person will read and edit your chapters, or maybe they'll hold you accountable to a writing pace. But no matter what, you need to find someone who's in it with you. When I started the grammar school, my friend Jamie joined me. We were really motivated because we wanted a different option for our kids. And so just knowing that there was someone else there, someone else who was also working on it, and motivates you to keep going and doing your part of the project. The Bible puts it this way: 2 are better off than 1, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls down, the other can reach out and help. But if someone falls alone, they're in real trouble. So a corollary to this don't go it alone principle is you've got to ask for help. So a friend of mine told me years and years ago that the fastest way to make a new friend is to ask for help. And it seems kind of counterintuitive, right? Like we don't want to ask for help because we don't want to seem needy, or we don't want to admit that we need help, and we're afraid we're bugging the person. And don't get me wrong, you can overdo it, you can annoy someone, but 9 out of 10 times, the person you ask for help is going to be flattered and they're going to say yes. Next thing you know, you've not just gotten help, but you've also made a friend. I can remember literally calling to, well, they're friends of mine now, but they were acquaintances at the time, who had taught public school in the town where I was living, where we started the grammar school, and asking them if they would come out of retirement. Both of them were no longer teaching, but they were staying home with their kids. If they wanted to come out of their so-called retirement and teach for this new fledgling school we were starting. But there was one caveat. In the beginning, we had $0 to pay them with. I remember sitting there holding the phone in my hand and literally screwing up every ounce of courage I had to call them and fully expecting them to laugh in my face. To my utter astonishment, both of them said yes, and we were able to start the school with 2 really well-loved teachers from the community. Likewise, when I started this political nonprofit, what we wanted to do was make campaign finance accessible and understandable to everyday citizens. Trouble was, I didn't understand a thing about campaign finance, but I got connected with a guy who did political fundraising for a living. And because he did the fundraising, he also did the reporting. So he understood the campaign finance laws and how it all worked. In those early days, I counted on him. He coached me every single step of the way as we started building the organization. And we became great friends. No matter what your dream of project, don't go it alone. You've got to ask for help. You've got to find someone who's in it with you. Okay, the number 2 lesson I've learned from the organizations I've built over the years is just start. You've got to just walk up to that cliff and jump. I remember when we were starting the grammar school, a friend of mine said, "Why don't you start this August?" And I laughed out loud. It was the most ridiculous suggestion I'd ever heard. I was still researching curriculum. We were traveling around the state of Texas, visiting schools, and to start in August was impossible. It was preposterous. When I objected to that ridiculous timeline, he said, "Well, why don't you just start, call it a pilot program, don't charge anything the first year, and warn the parents that you're just testing out some ideas for a new school." Well, somehow I agreed. And I was shocked to find out more than 40 parents signed up for that pilot program. Today, it's one of the largest schools in the city with a wait list to get in. You've got to just start. Of course, expect to change things, to iterate, to revise, and to make mistakes. But you've got to just start to even know what you need to change. So just start. All right. Number 3, the 3rd lesson I've learned from the different organizations I've built: expect the pit of despair. More times than I like to count, I have felt overwhelmed, embarrassed, defeated. At times, I've felt all three. But what I've learned is that the pit of despair is a non-negotiable stop on the road to building anything worthwhile, anything that matters. When we started that pilot program I told you about, the first day I decided to go sit in on the kindergarten and first grade. We had the grades combined, and my oldest was in first grade. And I'm telling you, it was an absolute, complete, and utter bleep show. It was a disaster. I went home and told my husband, we've got to quit. We should tell everyone before we go any further and waste anybody's time. This whole thing just isn't going to work. Well, that night, my friend Kelly called me. She was an elite athlete and a former coach. And so I think she was prepared for this. But she gave me the classic coach, don't be a loser and quit speech. I mean, really, she wouldn't let me off the hook as much as I wanted to quit. Thanks to Kelly, we kept going. To my amazement, every single kid showed up the second day and the kinks started getting ironed out, and we had a really successful year. When we started the political nonprofit, there were times we couldn't get the data we needed. We ran into fundraising trouble. There were threats of lawsuits. I even had a couple of death threats. In case you haven't noticed, people get pretty emotional about their politics. But it helped me to know, oh, I'm in the pit of despair now, and I can come out the other side. So I tell you about this not to discourage you, but so you can expect it too. So you can know, just like I said, the pit of despair is a non-negotiable stop on the road to building anything worthwhile. If you expect it and you know it's coming, you can realize this is what I'm going through right now, but you can have hope for victory and for coming out better and stronger. So I've talked about these three lessons I've learned. Don't go it alone, just start, and expect the pit of despair in relationship to the organizations I've built. But before I go, I want to talk to you about how they apply to your personal life too. First, don't go it alone. If you're a young married couple, find a community group in your church or in your synagogue. If you've got little kids, find a babysitter so you can still have date night, or find another couple that you can trade babysitting with. If you're young and single, but you've got your eye on a cute girl, go ahead and ask her out. If you are that girl and the guy asks you out, say yes. It doesn't hurt to go on one date. Never know where it might lead. And the second lesson, just start. If you're dating, you may feel like you're too young and you're too poor to get married. And you know what? You might be, but get married anyway. Just start. If you feel like you're not ready to have kids yet, let me tell you the truth. No one ever feels like they're ready to have kids. And in fact, no one ever really is ready to have kids. Doesn't matter. Have kids anyway. Have lots of them. If you're coming out of a hurting dating relationship, if you're hurt, doesn't matter. Start dating again anyway. Don't wait on the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, perfect amount of money, perfect stage of your career for whatever you want to do and build in your personal life. Just go for it. Just start anyway. And then the third lesson, expect the pit of despair. Let me tell you, if you think that there's no pit of despair in parenting, that just tells me that you haven't been a parent yet. And of course, relationships have the pit of despair. I've been in it many times with my marriage too. But I can tell you 30 years down the road that I'm so happy that I came through the pit of despair. I love him more today than I did the day we got married. It's worth it. And if you know it's coming, if you expect the pit of despair, you can push through those times and come out better and stronger on the other. All right, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for spending time with me. But before we go, be sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this. And always remember, you can build the life you want and you can succeed.